Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jess the Princess and you are watching episode 8 of my sabbatical series. Today we are going to do a little bit of content that differs just slightly from what I usually do. You are still going to see me go out and explore in the world, but you are also going to learn a little bit of something today. So when I was in London, I went to the Karl Marx grave. And I don't know, I got a lot of like mixed reactions about me going from friends and family members, and I just think that there's still such a misconception on what capitalism and communism is, and truly the incredible work that Karl Marx has done in terms of intellectualizing and just like explaining the struggle of working class people. And it's just sad because, you know, what he wrote about 200 years ago is still pretty accurate to what we as people are experiencing today, just except on a much larger scale than probably he ever anticipated. So I think it's really necessary that we have these conversations because I don't think it's being talked about in school. Karl Marx was a German philosopher, and me being a German student for 8 years, including high school and college, I really didn't learn about Karl Marx at all during any of our history units. So I just feel as though still in modern America, he is somebody that isn't talked about frequently enough and is often misunderstood because of it. So we're gonna get into about who he was a little bit as a person. Obviously, you guys are excited to see my little adventure to the Karl Marx grave. So I'm sure you guys were kind of aware of it when it was going on, but I think it was about 5 days before I went to the Karl Marx grave, somebody left a Labubu on his grave. And so you're just gonna have to watch the video to see if the Karl Marx Labubu was still there when I visited. And then also you get to see me struggling to go around the entire perimeter of this graveyard because I accidentally went to the wrong entrance. So Highgate Cemetery, there's two sides. There's the east and the west side. And thankfully I was by the right cemetery. I was by the east side. However, I went to the wrong entrance. So I had to go around the entire perimeter of this cemetery. It's massive. And a lot of it is uphill. So I was definitely struggling being somebody who was wearing a skirt that day. So yeah, I just didn't expect the hike that I was taking that day. But very well rewarding in the end. And also where he's buried, it's pretty like well known. Like George Michael's was buried in the west side. I know there's a bunch of like actors. The person who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe is in there, and a bunch of other people. I can't think of it. And a James Bond movie was set there. So to first get into it, I want to talk a little bit about Karl Marx as a person. Karl Marx was born May 5th, 1818, which is the same year that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was published. Because he was born on May 5th, you know what that means. He is a Taurus. And I don't care what you guys have to say about Tauruses. That's a red flag to me because I was raised by 2 Tauruses. So that's just my own trauma. Karl Marx shares his birthday with Adele, Hank Green, the lady who plays Topanga in Boy Meets World, Chris Brown, and Henry Cavill. Leading up to the release of this, I was really wanting to do something educational and like explain to people what communism and socialism and blah 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 is, and just kind of the origins of communism. And I think I wrote a really great article about it that I'm posting on Substack, so please check that out. But in this video, I wanted to not be as dry because, I don't know, anybody can look at the definition of Webster's dictionary of capitalism, communism, and things like that and tell you what it is, but I am doing that already in the article. I wanted to tell you guys what made me consider myself a socialist or a communist. I think when I tell people that I consider myself a leftist, not a liberal, and it's an important distinction to make because I am a socialist, I think that people think I've gotten to that place because, or despite of where I'm from, not because of where I'm from. When in reality, where I'm from, middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, it really shaped who I was as a person, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And it set the groundwork for me becoming a Marxist. Like I was saying, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. Truly, my actual hometown that I lived in is called embarrassment, Wisconsin. Where I grew up, it was a lot of farmers and agriculturalists, and it was a lot of people working in factories. Those were the main big jobs out where I lived. There really wasn't much out there in terms of careers. Because of that, we know in the area how massively important that unions are to the workplace, and so where I'm from, it's very union heavy. So a lot of already people kind of standing up to the man and being like, no, we deserve this, that, and certain protections. And I think it's really admirable. All these guys that are in the unions, a lot of them were Trump voters. And I want to make the distinction of a Trump supporter versus a Trump voter, because in this day and age where division is so rampant, I think we really need to be careful about pushing people away, because I worry about people becoming more radical in that sense. Because the Trump supporters, they're gone. They're crazy, you know what I mean? But Trump voters, they voted for him because they didn't like Biden or Kamala, which I didn't either. And yeah, I think we need to give people a little bit more grace if we are going to make any sort of positive movement forward with our current political atmosphere. We could also talk about lack of quality healthcare up north, lack of diversity, and a bunch of other things that are issues with living in a rural area. Almost everybody is unhappy with the situation that we are living in, and it's just wildly frustrating. And capitalism obviously isn't helping that, because they do not value us as workers, as people. Right now, currently, I am between 2 serving jobs despite having 2 bachelor's degrees, and I've worked in nonprofit spheres. When I worked for a nonprofit. I won't say which one because I don't want to get in trouble, but we did work on the 2020 election, and it was very healing for me to give people the opportunity to vote. A lot of people in Wisconsin don't know if you are a felon and you have done your time, so if you are off of papers, you can vote. So depending on your status as a felon in Wisconsin, you can vote if you are no longer on probation or house arrest, any of that. Helping people with disabilities or old folks figure out how to best vote, and telling people if you don't want to vote absentee, then there are options to go vote in person despite being more limited than previous years. And also just telling people what particular candidates are, what their platforms are and things like that. It was really rewarding. However, I was very clear in my distaste for Joe Biden as a presidential nomination. You know, once it went down from primaries, it was just really frustrating to know that this is the option that old white Democrats that are not truly aligned with the working class people, they're the ones that are making the nomination, and it really doesn't matter what we are saying on the ground level. And I know my supervisors, my coworkers were all really annoyed because we were all celebrating Joe Biden winning the presidential race. And while yes, that was extremely exciting, being a campaign that I helped work on. I was really frustrated because all the hard work that we really wanted with somebody like Bernie, that even a couple of my like Trump family members said that they voted for Bernie in the primaries, but he didn't do well enough, so then they switched. Just in general, I feel that people should be looking into other forms of political groups to get aligned with, because obviously the two-party system that we have is not fulfilling at all what the American people want. And I just really appreciate the political theories that Karl Marx has put forward and have helped put words to what I am thinking when seeing the work conditions that my friends and family members and I grew up around. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I hope this all makes sense. I don't know. I recorded a video like 2 or 3 times at this point of like trying to put in the proper words of what I thought about Karl Marx, and it just came off as so like robotic, and I just wanted to kind of like tell you guys what I actually think. They're fucking with me right now. How did I go around this entire fucking park and still could not find an entrance? And the second half is like kind of uphill. Oh, guys. But I will not be deterred. They also have George Michael's grave here, so that'll be cool to see. Also, my thighs are chafing because I'm wearing a skirt because I'm a f***ing idiot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next week we are going to be going to the Tower of London. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.